I'm going to set up. If they don't show up, I'm going to get my stooge out. We're going to see if we can't trim this airplane here for FCM. I don't know. We shall see. Should be all right. Okay, let me get this on here. I got work to do. I'm going to use my handle from the 90s. Maybe not. Maybe not. I already got the one set up, the CAD set up. Now we got 2 watchers. Any chatters? No live chat. I haven't run this set of lines or anything. It's all new. I drove all this way out here. I'm not gonna wait on these guys. I'm just gonna get my stooge and stoogey it up. There's such a small window today, I don't want to wait. Better get the wire. At least I'll get a flight in today, if nothing else. Steve Smith and Dan McAtee are supposed to show up. Who knows? Yeah, I got more fuel. I gotta go to the bathroom. Give me 1 minute. Our Johnny on the spot is in definite need of service. Okay, we're going to give it the first whirl of the day. See what happens. I don't know if I can get it started. Had nobody to help me burp it, so I got to do it this way. Going right at the camera. Yep, she's blowing right at the camera. Sorry about that. Nothing. We got 2 watchers or 7 watchers and 3 lights.
Was it too much crap?
Bound up. Like you crossed over in there.
Huh?
My lead outs, I think, are crossed inside the wing. I can feel them rubbing in there.
Oh, okay.
It's sticky. That's why I didn't do anything.
You must have control.
Yeah, I gotta have control. Esteban! Good eyes, don't you?
From a distance, I got great eyes.
I've got adequate eyesight. I just can't get on the ground like that.
You got a flashlight?
I got a flashlight. Just unhook the line and get it up with the outboard tip down and put gravity, put you some slack in. I can't hear it, but that's not a surprise. Probably feel what it's doing.
Big drill bit so I can put the hole up. You got a big drill bit? Can't see in there.
Cut the wing open.
If you had a really bright light, maybe. Let me see. I got a light at home that I can spot. I'll just put it on.
you put it down, I'll put it down, and you got the tip down where you can look down and what kind of flag size, it's watching the line.
That's the whole thing. You can't see in that spot. Open it up with a reamer, maybe. Open it back a little up.
I kind of got out of habit of bringing the whole shop every time I go flying.
Come on to this airplane. Esteban. Don't let the tip hit the ground.
Why don't you stand up and do that? You can hold the thing up, but I hope voice flow. You're not straight to that. It's not fire.
Come on, you're a reamer. Looks like about 60. Yeah. There it is.
That's so true.
Squeezing it down. Clean up the next time. Do nothing but good.
Are you going through the balsa just below the line guard? Steve's here, and it's not even 9 o'clock. You initially said that when the line was across, I'm trying to figure out how you did that. For a while, it's out of the line guy, then yeah, you probably do it. That changes where you're up and you're down. got that one airplane out of Walt Bunnell's stage, and he could hear something falling back and forth on the fuselage, and it just bugged the hell out of him. I said, oh, Walt, what should you heard? So he finally ordered one of them snake cameras, and took the tank engine out, took the tank out, and then somehow put a hole all the way through it. When the guy finally found it, it was a blind nut that broke loose from something somewhere, but he managed to get it out. So he's afraid it was going to hang up the belt clamp or something. It wouldn't have bothered him. There, Steve-O!
Yeah, no. Everything you want to know is because they gave birth to you back in the 70s and found out everything you know. It's tedious.
Lead out crossing, Dad?
Paint job, someday get real elaborate with it. It's just another thing that there ain't nothing in this hobby that don't take practice. You know? Like if this week's your first one, simple. You know, just
It only took me 60 years to learn how to do this.
it's just a matter of having some pencil tools and a steady hand and a good clear workspace with some light.
Go straight out, not like that. Up should be in the back.
Take it over by one.
this way, you can at least see the back one. Where you have your little hole in it. Then you know the front one's really good, all right? Really, there's only one side over here.
Hey, there's the best looking ARP. That's the
That's the original vector. He's designed a couple of other different size vectors. But I think he's only ever had plans to make a limited 50. The product has not really on sale, but evidently they had a bunch left over of one color of the gas-powered P40. 255 plus free shipping. Less free shipping. I haven't really figured all that because supposedly they haven't had any bars forever or weren't going to get anymore.
Get up the goddamn wingtip.
What's that?
Okay, got it now.
If it's red or down, you got it down. Oh, up is the battery, so. Okay, you're right.
Finish C8.
No, I didn't get there. scalp would be called a dividend.
A $30 piece of foam.
So then you put about $1.50 worth of dividend in it. You don't have to worry about your tips slipping anymore. I'll put a curve up on all around it. Got enough?
Okay. Nobody's flying, I'll go again. We'll try this again. Yeah. Get this up here. Sorry about the wait, guys, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah. Hurry up!
Are you ready?
Did you hurt me? Probably.
I keep forgetting to put a
Oh, yeah.
doodad on there, but this left of this one keeps working.
You're going to wait till it completely comes apart and then you'll have to do it.
I've got other clips.
Back.
I was trying to figure out why you was just flying around. And I thought, well, for the last time on it, and it seemed like it was pretty fast. I thought I had it at 5.2 and you were pretty high. But, you feel better?
Let's see. This is places to be able to have
Another one of the things that you can stay up all night and talk and drink a lot of beer and hard about is look together for down, lead up and back, or down, lead up and back. I have it in back, and when you got to swap the belt pipe over and you got the output on in case you tire. All depends on how you got it, what other stuff is. The theory is, there's really only a couple of places in the cabin where it has any kind of effect, but it's just one of the many little things that go in the spectrum and something that do it right.
set up next to
On purpose, huh?
huh? I never just might have caught you up. We need to keep that tank in Christmas summer. Well, I would think, maybe, yeah. You take off, and then your fly comes down in a circle. I mean, that takes the airplane away from everything. And you don't have to worry about tripping on something on the Right, Steve-O? What was that, Randy?
know what you ought to do for your first flight is don't put any fuel in it and just go out there and whip it. Don't be nothing.
See Chris McMillan do it for about 8 or 10 laps one time. Where
You want it in front of the foam or behind it?
Right there next to it.
Next to it. What? I'll go. I'm ready, sort of. Right.
Because of the method yet. Somebody got out, came out for a fun fly, but he didn't want to do that in his truck there. Anyway, he said, "Bruce, I got interested in Franklin. He's over to me. He just retired from UPS. I let him know I was going to be in the truck. But,
He didn't get inverted or really do that many outsides and stuff, but it's breaking pretty good on the inside. You outsides, that's why it is. That's not breaking at all. So it's like you keep it
straight. And,
watching it. But on your inside, it was breaking almost day hard, and then you're flying forward left or everything back. But outside, if you outside the net, I didn't hear it break at all.
well, I can't say that I have to twist the plunge. Yeah, look at it. Can't raise the tank at the plunk tank. I can only twist the plunger. The plug.
I'll be curious to see if it is hit back where it is.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, we'll get it figured out. If not, I'll fly the Junar.
May not be what you're looking for. She found, I don't know where she found it. She found it. Called Rough House. So it's a country made. And we got a first part on the.
It's like an art for art.
Yeah. Flying pigs. We're gonna make a couple of awards with flying pigs.
Boy Layton's wife used to make cotton figure that pigs and all that. And I'm going to say caricature.
Was Balsa, was she? Man, she was cussing that stuff.
Yeah, she's used to really having to haul through harder wood.
Right.
And Balsa's going to have soft spots, hard spots.
Chunks would come out. Oh, yeah.
But except she ever wants any blocks and stuff like that, you know, for, it seems like everywhere I go, and you know, somebody have a raffle, I want another SIG, you know, balsa block assortment, which is generally useful for metal.
I don't know that she'll ever want to touch balsa again.
Steve-O, give me a line.
All right. Which one?
You're Steve-O.
Oh, okay.
He's just Steve.
Oh, okay.
Just Steve. I'll take it.
Is that a new airplane or?
Yeah, no.
Relatively new.
I just wondered if, you know, if you were still getting maidens and figuring stuff out.
So I'm trying to get an engine run. I'm trying to get handles set.
Has this one been through a concourse judging anywhere yet? I was going to say, I don't know how much nicer looking do they get. I would have to see
Let's see what we got here. Anything? No. No chat. What's the deal, guys? We got 15 watchers, 13 likes, and not a word out there. It's 22 watchers. Come on, type something in there. Get the metrics up.
dripping down while it was hanging out. I forgot to take it out. I'm flying along and I'm seeing something hanging out of it.
Oh.
What the hell is that? And I remembered the paper towel. I think I can take it out now. It's got nice one on it, and I think it's got squirts on it, and it's just not ready to make. That might have affected it. I don't see this one. Huh? This is the OS35S, and it's another jet stream. Nothing. What's my life to find? Well, for their time, they were pretty open and free flowing. You know, mufflers weren't around very long at the time that, you know, West came to that. And, but I think it's pretty much limited to one end. And then I think it might fit the 40 gauge. Or, yeah, but what they call the jet stream. That's an OS jet stream. Merco mufflers at the time were real simple. But they were light, and they were pretty free flowing, and that's why guys gravitated. Now, so who did? Oh, really? The,
$50. $50 paper plate.
I just used something to put in the plastic. When we first started going to DLC, you know, guys were into it. Period in period stuff. Still feel funny?
Just a little bit. Not as bad as it was here. I think it was around pretty good.
And you got them through the bell crank, the typical tubing, U-shaped thing, so they really can't get hung up there. Really. Or if you did, you'd have one lead out way longer than the other.
Ready?
Just a little bit. Depends how they're trying to run.
What motor is that?
I think cut it up. Now we've got to adjust that. There's a lot of operating stuff. Got a hole in there. One to put the light in. But to hold the light in there, you can't see it.
For that camera, it's like 25, $30 online. You know, that'd be kind of a handy tool to have. I don't know how small.
Call it endoscope.
You know, the thing is, but for this kind of stuff, or like I said, if you want to look down, see if something's rubbing in the fuselage and stuff like that. You know, if you used it 5-6 times in your lifetime, it'd be worth $30 instead of hanging around.
If you got somebody serious about shooting, they probably got a bore scope you can borrow. That's what that is. Yeah. The thing about that movie, it's not. I don't know if we do.
I didn't have no
Bore
trouble.
scope is a
He took it all the way to the back of the airplane. He had no trouble getting it back in there.
Bore scope goes down a cylinder.
You know, mechanics in that use them in. You got a big old hairy spark plug hole or a valve hole. You can put all sorts of crap in it.
camcorder, VHS.
Well, we got no chatters. Can't see shit.
Steve's really liking the model line.
18 and 15.
I gotta use my chair.
This airplane's going to be a good airplane if I can get this sorted out. Ah!
I heard from Mark,
Where's he at?
and I think he might be having some health stuff that he's just not telling anybody about. He fell off a deck. He's lucky he's alive. He was helping his brother-in-law build a deck or resurface a deck or something, and he got done putting down some boards and then stood up and took a step back. And he was closer to the edge than he thought, and he fell backwards off the deck and went down about 4 or 5 feet and cracked some ribs. And he was out last Sunday, and you could tell he was tender. Now, did that quit on the clover on him? Is that what I saw?
I think he was doing extra stuff.
Did that quit on the clover? Boy, it quit at exactly the right time. If that had ran another 5 seconds, you'd have been in deep shit.
Esteban. Yes, sir. Esteban Herrera. That's Stephen Smith in Spanish.
How did you like your responses to your questions on the four-stroke column?
I mean, I didn't really get an answer to that actual question.
Bob Zambelli's a bit of a flake. I mean, he knows four-stroke, but let's say he's very opinionated. But he, you know, like I said, he used to be a really good buddy of Wendy's, but he wound up pissing something Wendy off and something at him, and Wendy ain't spoken in
Really?
27 years.
Wendy, I only know him through the videos, but he seems like you couldn't hardly get him mad.
I can't see that he flies as much as what he says he does for some of the, you know, the thousands of flights he says he's had on this and that and the other. With all the other stuff that he does, he's kind of a wealthy, you know, well-to-do guy. Earned a lot of money in aviation in some way, shape, or form. Worked for some helicopter company, and you know, Brett made the comment about vibration and stuff, and that, you know, which is an issue. But let's just say he's not on a lot of people's Christmas card list.
Who is?
Zambelli.
I asked.
He called me out of the clear blue sky a couple of months ago, just wanting to chat, and then I couldn't figure out why he was calling me. You know, we've traded emails and stuff and that about one thing or another. Especially back when I was starting to fool with four strokes.
Right.
But I don't put him up there in my list of people that are really high that I go to for questions about stuff, you know. And then I don't put a lot of faith in what Brett has to say about four strokes either.
It doesn't.
Because he's never really competed with one. He's been around them. He's a smart guy, and he can he can absorb and make a lot of assimilations just from being around them.
Right.
He's a rocket scientist. He's a true, genuine. He's an autistic savant.
I was going to say, in a lot of respects, that's great if you want to build a rocket, but otherwise, some of them guys are useless away from there, you know.
But Brett does have a lot of common sense and stuff in a mechanical sense. He was part of a team. I forget what company he worked for, but he has to do with putting satellites in orbit. And he's an old-fashioned slide rule guy. And him and his team won some sort of special aviation award one time. They launched some communication satellite, you know, 150, 200 billion. Second stage booster stable. But they got it high enough off the third stage to get it in a stable orbit. But to be geostationary, you'll miss it. I've never seen one yet, but he'll step back a little bit. Plus I knew he'd probably hog it off the ground. they got the thing into a stable orbit, and then him and his team went to work trying to figure out, you need to get it to 200 plus miles to be geostationary. And it's only got 3-pound thrusters for positioning, and then what they call reaction wheels. There's two odd-weighted flywheels that are 90 degrees to each other, and then taking advantage of an elliptical orbit, you know, the slingshot around the Earth, then at just the right time, they'd give it a couple of toots with the positioning thrusters, and over a year they nursed it to 200 miles, and then saved the satellite, and then the insurance company was probably the happiest of all of that, not to mention the communication company. But that's kind of what he does for. He remembers every model rocket flight that he's ever made.
I mean, if the contention is because those four-strokes are like the 82 version, it's a larger split engine, and that's why.
Gordon Delaney, somebody that also answers, Gordon Delaney had used one on this big helicopter. And you could probably search that out on Stunt Hangar.
I've emailed Gordon Delaney back and forth about that.
Yeah.
And he said that
You start getting into that side, it starts getting heavy. Like Wendy originally was going to put a 90 in that Typhoon back down. Huh?
82 weighs less than the 72.
The 72,
all in the 56 case.
the OS 72 that was in that Typhoon, the waltz that I had, that weighed 22 ounces. Yeah, the airplane, the airframe just by itself, only weighed 50 ounces. But Walt just engineered that son of a bitch to where he didn't have no balance weight, but the engine itself, engine, prop, center, and tank, was just perfect balance. You need to read Bob Giovini's article that he published back in the 60s about barbell effects, having huge masses of weight at each end of the axis arm, you know, the movement arm. Makes the airplane handle fine. No, I think it's the PA-75. The rear exhaust.
I guess I'm, you know, that Magnum leaf, similar colors to this. For whatever reason, I was thinking that. I know that's got a Tiger 60.
I forgot to get his inverted last time. Huh? I didn't hear you. I was looking for a job when I got this one.
Your bonus is going to be probably no bonus.
Well, when he made that previous flight, it sounded like it was braking really hard on the inside, but not on the outside. The few outsides he did. About 3.5.
like jumping from my cousin was at home watching the live stream. He was jumping from the camera. Hey Steve, you ever think about charging the batteries out
Next year, we're not going to put through.
I'm gonna get a hell of a blister. The first time I picked it up. Finger right on the back part of that bumper.
Yeah, the bumper's right there.
Huh?
Bumper's right there.
I mean, I've been doing this a long time, and that's instinctively I like to put around the skin. Super control the airplane. And I didn't know it was a weird glass like that. That with that open, and they got that finger right on that fat part of it.
Here's what I think the problem is.
Huh?
That's what this is. It's just
It just overall sounded better. I just wondered if you went a little richer at it or something. I was yakking for the most part. I didn't get any of that. But what I was paying attention to the verticals, hourglass and stuff like that. And like it was coming back right away. Like it should when you prep. But with that previous light that you did, that whenever you did an insight or something, you were other than that. Unless you had a little sludge or something like that. And this is full time. One thing I found with plastic tanks is sometimes it works for something, and I think it has to do with the mix when they blow it, when they hold it. But sometimes leaving it sitting that's good. The alcohol sucks all the moisture out of the plastic. the bear's looking. He did that, yank one off the floor.
Okay. We got any chatters yet? Ah, we do. Hey, like given, thank you. Greg Mayer says, hi, Dan McAtee. Okay, I'll make sure to tell him. On an hour and 40 minutes, we'll go another 20 anyway. Hey Steve, are those my spectral lines?
What?
Are those mine or you got them?
No, I got it from Ben. Yeah, get the yellow and blue.
Get another spinner here. Good.
Right in front of it, let's spark it here.
Other way, over here.
We got one over there in front of the rail. Ready to go again, Bob?
I think Steve's gonna go? Steve, you ready?
No.
I guess I'm ready then.
Teach me how to solder. Yeah. I've never been able to do that. One of the most more on it than the other. It wasn't the cheapest stick. It's probably the most expensive one, but it's still not adjustable. I got more batteries that got bad protected. But I don't think there's any one that did the same thing with me, except it didn't come apart. That is the best. I'm flexible. I'm retired.
If you got put that monitor on here, that's too much resistance right there. That's the hot side. Juice goes from there to there. And that's, if something's gonna get hot, that's gonna be. Oh yeah, electric. There's something goes on. You got more, don't you? Who's up next? Steve, you gonna go? You got more batteries, right, Steve? I checked that connector on all of them. Just to be safe. The actual problem that caused that might be on the female side.
Who's going to replace it all?
You have oil there?
Us slime flyers are always prepared for that.
Yeah, I will be too. What?
You're about 2 to 3 tenths slower inverted.
Well,
I mean, I got good times. You can't hardly hear it, but the stopwatch don't lie.
Yeah. So what I need to do is lean it out.
I think the temperature and humidity's kind of come to the needle a little bit more, and that's why everything seems and sounds a little bit richer. I mean, I was a whole tenth, but I never touched the needle. I was a tenth slower on my last flight.
And you say that was 5.5?
You were 5.5 upright, 5.4.5 to 5.5 in net neck per wood. But you were 5.7 to 5.8 converted.
Need to go in a little
3
bit.
tenths isn't too noticeable on an engine like that, you know.
I need to go in just a slight bit.
Is that one of Randy Smith's engines? PA? Have you ever messed with the jet engines? Those road
Don't
jet?
like them. They're two-part bar stock. They weep black crap.
Oh,
Working metal.
rattling on it themselves?
You gonna get them?
Yeah, come on, make yourself useful.
Yeah.
We're not going to let you come out here anymore until you bring an airplane either. We're going to shame him into at least buying an airplane and let's get him flying.
I got stuff we can buy.
Why? I don't know if you remember this Brian, his name's Craig Schulte, but he's been coming out here for years. And he's brain damaged. He was in a car accident or something and builds fluid control line models and stuff. Red-headed kid. Kind of talked kind of slow. And he would warn everybody, hey, I was in an accident, I'm a little brain damaged, so I might say something funny. Kind of a nice kid. But he contacted me, and he's not really interested in flying anymore. He's got some models that I'm trying to convince him he needs to buy that they don't look like much, but we could probably make him fly well enough that he could at least learn a pattern on them. LA 40s and 46s and stuff like that on them. I told him, I said, you know, he's kind of fastidious with building this Ringmaster he's building, you know, but I said, he says, I know he's teasing. He says, my goal is to do the pattern on the first flight of the thing. And I said, you gotta learn how to fly first. He's equating too much of what his experience with RC is going to be translatable to this. And I keep telling him, it's entirely different. You just, even electric, you know. I told him, I said, your left thumb is going to be sitting here twisting because you're used to having all this altitude to do
10
shit.
mistakes up. We're only a millisecond away from death here.
Your left thumb's going to be twitching for something to do because you're going to get to a point where your left thumb wants to push that throttle stick up a little bit and you ain't got it. It ain't there, you know.
Like I say, you're 10 mistakes up. Now what happened with the fuel is Bill is my fuel man out of Dayton. And we couldn't get nitromethane. He got nitro something or other.
Ethane?
But yeah.
Fox was making fuel like with stuff like that back in the. What was another? Way back when the last nitro plant in the U.S. blew up. That was back in the early '90s.
Angus?
And
Isn't that the name of it?
Fox was advertising fuel with nitroethane and FAI. SIG was doing the same thing. SIG didn't put ethane in their stuff, as far as I can remember. But they might have. But they were really touting their FAI fuel at that point.
Well, that's Lou's brew that I got from Mark at $25 a gallon. And I got 2 more gallons of Rich's brew for $25 a gallon. I got 4 gallons of that crap fuel that I could use as break-in fuel. And I'll get it started on regular fuel and I'll let it run and that other shit.
Just try pouring a gallon a little at a time into another known good gallon of fuel. As long as it's close to the same recipe.
It is the exact same recipe.
Well, there you go. I mean, you really don't have that much to worry about. You know, if it's clots and castor, just keep pouring it and do it with a syringe first. Put a quarter of a syringe of the crap stuff, and then fill the rest of the syringe and put in a test light. See how it goes. Might have to adjust the needle a little bit.
Block me.
What do I want to go there for?
Sell it.
Back in 2020 during the pandemic, when me and Mark were coming down here about 4 times a week, I was laid off from the place I was working, and we couldn't get fuel. Man, I went through every gallon of crap fuel that I had just to be able to keep flying, and that was what I did. I just kept adding it to good SIG stuff, and I think I've got 1/2 gallon.
So what happened if you'd have went a little too far?
Won't run?
You just don't.
That's what I mean. Once you do, you're hosed. I don't know. It seems like your time's probably worth more than.
I've never seen.
I'll give you the fuel you want.
No.
You know, good fuel will crutch along and help along bad fuel. And if you put it too much bad fuel in a good fuel, yeah, you can go the other way. That's why I say about 25%. And
You said you think it's got water in it. It's the problem.
No, it's the nitro. It's not nitromethane. It's nitroethane.
ethane probably.
And it won't ignite because I was out here flipping my 75. Flip. Just, you know, it's like running on straight alcohol. It ain't high enough compression.
Nitro doesn't do what most people think it does. Nitro is an oxygenator.
Yeah.
And that just gives you more of what the air ain't got in it so that you can open that needle bigger and fatter, and then that's where your extra power comes from the extra
Nitro
alcohol.
was supposed to patch the holes in the southern border wall.
Huh?
So I thought Nitro was supposed to patch the holes in the southern border wall.
No, we're all going to go down there and stand watch on the border. I think what's going to happen here shortly. Why are you doing me with Into the Wind, Steve?
Guys used to come in the hobby shop wanting to buy 15 and 30% nitro that are just learning how to fly. And I said, it's your money, you spend it. I said, but you're going to have just as much fun and crash the airplane into just as small pieces, spending $5 to $10 less a gallon and burn 5% and 10%.
All I'm burning is 5%.
Yeah.
That other shit, I got 10% of that ethane.
The nitromethane that is used in performance products, like model airplanes or drag racers or whatever, is an infinitesimal amount compared to what it's used in other products and stuff like that. Pharmaceuticals, textiles, stuff like that.
Could you imagine how much it costs to run a top fuel car?
No, right.
Gary had 55 gallons of nitromethane in his garage, but it went bad. He had to get rid of it.
I remember
Did you ever buy it from that guy on the Rock Road?
he knew that guy really well.
Yeah, I bought it from him.
Me and
Well, he
Mark
still
just
has
went
it.
and
I
bought
just
2
called him
gallons from him.
a month or
Mark
two
bought
ago.
2 gallons from him over the
$60
winter.
for a gallon of nitro.
It's 100 now.
No, see, I just talked to him like a month ago.
60 now?
That's what he said, $60 for a gallon.
That's got nothing. We're paying 100 for the plots, and it's not the right shit.
Mark just wanted it to have on hand to be able to spike 5% up to 10% if he needed it, because he bought a lot of 5 and hadn't been using it. And we got towards the bottom of the barrel of that guy's 55-gallon drum, but it was a recent barrel, you know, and
I remember there used to be
we didn't see him. I didn't recognize him, but he was at Gary's memorial service and stuff in that too. He's a nice guy.
There used to be a CV King gas station. I want to say it was in Fenton somewhere. I forget now, where you could buy methanol right out of a pump.
Methanol ain't nothing.
It's just a little easier to deal with than having to go get it, buy the VP in a metal can.
I got a paint thinner can I'm going to make a jug out. I was over at Wix the other day and I got a video online. So I picked up a paint thinner can I'm going to turn into a fuel can. Empty paint thinner can. Metal.
I would say I've got some old fuel cans if you want a fuel can.
No, this is a paint thinner can. There's no label on it.
I've got an old SIG Champion fuel can that's kind of my pride and joy.
That's a Dave 40.
I got a Dave Brown.
The
I just bought it actually.
that's what's funny. Is fuel always came in metal cans, and then all of a sudden, for safety reasons, they didn't want you to put it in metal cans anymore to ship it and stuff. So then they went to plastic jugs, and then all of a sudden, then they flip flop on that. Well, for safety reasons, we want you to ship it in metal cans.
I think I must have got started right at the tail end of that, because you could still get only K and B was the only one coming in metal cans when I
I
started.
forget how many AMA claims for insurance and stuff, and that went to guys that weren't paying attention on how they put the metal can in their flight box and stuff and they loaded up in their car, and then let a pair of glow clips come in contact with the metal can, and boom!
I guess after 4 flights I should wipe that off.
Power Master all comes in metal cans now. They went back to metal cans.
Who wants to pay for that, man?
And that's one of the reasons I haven't been in a big rush to get 4-stroke back going. Is 2020 is $60 a gallon now.
I mean, if you want to buy Power Master 2020, maybe, but anybody can make that for you. That guy that I ordered my fuel from, he just quoted me $30 a gallon.
The guy from Memphis that we bought fuel from, he's got his blend of 2020 and stuff, and I got some of that I'm going to try in it, and it's considerably cheaper. But he's using clots. It's pink. The stuff from Power Master is clear. And it's all synthetic. But the engine don't ever get sticky, gummy. You know.
Yeah, this is the first time I've had castor oil fuel in a long time.
I look at some of these other guys' 4-strokes where the valve covers and everything are all burnt and crusty. Mine almost looks like it did the day it came out of the box, and I know I got 1,200 flights on the airplane. Once I figured it out and got it running consistent, that's all I flew for 3 or 4 years. was that
I
four-stroke.
want to see it. I don't believe it flies at all.
It's an interesting
Do you
power
hand
plant,
start
but
it?
I wasn't going to sell all my Super Tigers.
Do you hand start it?
You get in a
Do you
rhythm.
back flip it? What do you do?
I flip it normal. Behringer's back flip it. I guess you're supposed to take it up against
Get it really wet and take it back against compression and
against the
then
compression,
back
and
it
then
off. Well, when I did it with the spinner. I would spin the spinner.
I finally saw in one of those Windy videos of the 2004 World Champs where when the engine's mounted inverted, Venturi points up,
Nice
and then they've
quick
got
prime in
a little place where they can put a little tube of fuel that goes down and gets into the Venturi, a measured amount, and then they cranked that through a couple of times, and they were getting 1-foot starts that way.
I don't remember if it was you or Pat that told me that you have to make sure that you make basically an intake to the outside air. Both of you guys, I think, told me that actually. It would make it easy to prime through that too. You gotta, so that it's not sucking air out of the engine compartment.
It was an interesting process.
Will you have it out here next time?
I was amazed at how smooth it was. I didn't feel any vibration at the handle, and I thought, wow, these four-strokes are pretty smooth. Probably flew it for a year or two. Then was up at Oshkosh, flying it in demonstrations and then up there, and I let Gilbert Behringer fly it up there in a demonstration in the afternoon. And he gave me 2 thumbs up for it. He said, oh yeah, very nice. And he's the one that told me get down to about 6 millimeter on the Venturi side line. Four-strokes are all about feeding them fuel. You got to do everything you can, keep your fuel line runs as short as you can, and choke the shit out of them. They make up for it in torque. That's their key. They make their power just strictly through torque. And I flew it in the next demo later on that day, and I'm coming around, flying out to tank the fuel, got done the thing, and all of a sudden the engine was flying off to the airplane. Luckily, it was pointed in the right direction and landed in the grass where nobody was panning. And got it home and got to looking at it. Didn't hurt the engine, but the engine ripped out and made a right turn, and then the prop took a big chunk out of the leading edge of the wing. And that's where I found out that they build those things with fucking hot melt glue. And that's what happened was the glue joints started coming apart. And
That airplane's probably got a bunch of hot melt.
I started picking off the monocoat and stuff and that around everywhere, and you could take hemostats and grab hold of a lump of glue and then just peel it up. You know, like you peel silicone?
Yeah.
You know? I'll be goddamn. So it was like just putting a jigsaw puzzle back together. Everything went back, tongue and grooves, slots and stuff like that. But I put it back together with CA and epoxy, coated everything with epoxy. Only picked up about a half an ounce away. I really like that cyclone. I'm gonna try and use more of that. When I started flying it after that, I noticed I could feel engine vibrations down the line to the handle again. Those were back to being solid.
Cleaner this time.
What's that?
Cleaner.
He messed with the needle a little bit. He's about a tenth faster than he was the last time. inverted. That's really breaking hard. I'd put a couple of head pins in there.
As long as it comes back every time, is that still bad?
Now all of a sudden he's faster. He's faster inverted than he was last time.
Well, it's leaner this time.
Huh?
It's leaner. It should be faster everywhere.
Sometimes that'll do that. You go, lean or richer, it'll compensate for one thing or another. But that's pretty slower. That airplane's really driving. I can tell he's not comfortable. He ain't gonna come up.
Yeah, this is the first day he's flown it.
You might get blown out about doing 1 o'clock. Noble Arc, the patterned after the green box. Those were the Aldrich 57. 6 or 57. Senior. Because the box that it came in had a green label. But they called it the green box. But it's the 57 Noble. Aldrich built several different versions over leading up to what you want to have. What's using the Nova is this
What
one.
is What's wrong with the tank?
It's leaning out as it does inside.
Ah,
So
What large
I have to move the I have to think about it. I have to move the pickup to one way or the other.
yeah.
But I think a little more trimming.
It's
Be
a
good airplane.
nostalgia
Yeah,
thing.
it's like a funeral.
That's why there's so many of them around.
Yeah.
On the
But I
business
could tell
market,
you're
you
bringing
want
your
eBay because
triangle
everybody wanted
down a
one
little
back
better.
then.
Yeah.
You're going to save it. When they go around the dump, you do really good.
Need to get some nose weight off of it.
And,
Change out that spinner.
and most people didn't stick with it that long.
It'll turn better.
That's what I figured out
Yeah.
through the years. of talking
Twice
to
as good.
people and reading books, magazines.
Looks like it
and
turns
stuff like
pretty
that.
good. It's pretty,
Most of the people that were involved
pretty
in all
stable
that
in
back
level
then really
flight.
didn't stick with it very long. But that was one of the only things to do for a leisure time activity.
Are you going to FCM?
And,
No. Thinking about going to
unless
Tulsa
you were a
though.
real airplane nut, you know,
When
most
is
guys-
Tulsa?
most people
Weekend
are
after
bullshit.
our
They couldn't
contest,
figure out how to make the engine.
September
You
20
know, that's why a
something,
lot of the engines
22nd,
that you go to
23rd.
buy, good up there used,
Huh?
really aren't even broke
All
in
right.
because most people couldn't even get them
I want to go the
started
Friday
because they
before,
had no mechanical
stay that night.
How much is it?
What,
no
the
reasoning
contest?
to be able to understand
Hotel,
well,
I don't know
flooded,
where to
is
go.
not picking up fuel,
Depends on where it goes.
is it a bad battery,
Cheapy.
you know,
Flea bag motel.
Don't want,
kinda gotta see if you're
don't want
okay.
bed bugs.
to really get anywhere
There-
with
I
anything
looked
that's
at,
involved.
Hey, you stole me $30.
And
Yeah, I have it.
stuff tickle, you know, takes a little modicum of maintenance.
I looked at the Glue Gobber's head website, right? And they got a list of hotels, and several of them say not recommended.
Giesky built, well, Giesky built an airplane for the 68 Nance. He crashed his main airplane a month or two before the National. And he called George Aldrich because they both lived near each other in Texas. And he says, hey, if you've got a Nova kid, I just crashed my airplane. I got to crash them together. And Aldrich told him, he says, no, I've only got one left, but I'll hang on to it if you can use it to top it. So he
I gotta go
followed
home
the
and
kid,
build me some airplane racks so I can get them airplanes off the floor so we got some room.
Yeah.
traced the ribs.
So is that
made the
cross?
ribs
Those
a little thicker.
crossfires are they?
There's a ballpoint pen for that.
Are they
And,
vacuum
as
bags?
he's building the airplane, he's
Oh, you were talking to the guy at Wips about vacuum bags.
Yeah,
He
but
just thought he
that
was
airplane.
Oh, something else?
I got enough shit to do that airplane.
You got to talk to
something
Aldrich.
else.
What about repositioning the landing gear?
Okay, so that's different.
You know, the
That's a
Nobels
different
can be hard
process
to land.
altogether.
You're pretty far forward. Like the trend was
Just
for
curious, I
models
didn't
back
know.
in the 50s and 40s and stuff like
So all we got to do is
And,
mold the
Aldrich
shells.
told him, he said,
Yeah,
just make the
I-
tail
yeah.
taller.
You got the
Tail real
blanks
taller, put the fuselage level,
Right, you got the plug.
I got the plug.
already. That's most of the work, isn't it?
Off the top of the
Yeah,
rudder,
I also have
to
the
make it
molds
present it
to
better.
bend the fuselage too.
So that was
Okay, in the front,
Giesky.
I don't know how much you know about building, but in the front
He
of
built
the
variations
motor,
of that with different
usually you put
amounts
balsa blocks
on how
in
high
there, then
the
sand through the
turtleneck,
fuselage into the
how high the
balsa
rudder
blocks
was
so you
and
can
stuff
taper
like
it into
that.
the spinner.
The model that he won in
I
the
got
74
molds to mold that fuselage
World
into
Championship
the spinner, so we don't have to have that shit in there.
It's
So you got
closer
room
to
for
the
other
top
stuff.
flight
Ah,
Giesky
cool.
Nova kit that didn't come out until the
So
late 70s.
when you do your doublers,
It's closer to that.
you put it in this
than what a
press
greenback
that I got.
is.
It's got the shape of it,
And a lot of
and
people
that'll
always
mold
say,
that
"Oh, there
shape
can't be
in
more
there
than half a difference
because
in
the
it."
epoxy will hold it.
The
in
wings
shape.
were all basically the same.
and then I got the
Yeah,
top bottom
he really
mold.
messed around with fuselage
And,
and stuff like that. Or basically what they call
I
side
meant to
area.
ask you, what are you gonna do for
Side
horns?
area affects the model when it's going downwind, when it's going upwind. When it's going
Got some,
downwind,
you got to buy her.
the theory is you get a lot of side area, the
I
wind
got to
pushes
replace it.
Yeah, where do you get them?
against the rudder and takes
Danny
some of the
Baker.
excess load off the lead
Oh,
out,
okay.
off the
Have a
handle.
good one.
because it's pushing the tail of
But,
the airplane
yeah,
back.
I'll buy 'em from-
nose in a
And
little
put the
bit.
carbon push
Doing
rod. I
the
mean, there's a lot of
inside,
money tied up.
maneuver
Carbon
down
push
wind.
rod's $7,
Then when you
and the
come
ball links are
upwind,
$2 a piece. You
pushes
need
the
four of
tail
those.
of the airplane
And all that
in.
little nickel dime shit.
Nose
Yeah,
out,
it's up.
keep the
Where's
lines
my
tight.
$200 in crap go?
Right,
You
yeah.
got a
No,
little
I get
handle
it.
with crap.
And he fooled around with a lot.
Music,
I've got
music
plans
wire. I got
around.
everything to do it. I mean,
Just gotta, yeah, well, you figure out what it's gonna cost me,
Well,
like cash.
I'm gonna have I'm setting up my shop. I got everything
And
hung
that
up
was
on
a
the
trend.
big board
Everybody
like,
did that
like a
for a
hobby
while.
shop.
Oh, okay,
And it's all priced out because I had to buy it.
yeah.
So you gotta pay for it.
Well, you can buy more.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess with this I'll stop and get some Z-Box. No, I don't need that.
Yeah, I'll need that. I'll need epoxy and 30 minutes.
I got all that stuff. You just bring the money.
Just bring money.
I got the fiberglass. I got resin. I got. We can make you a propeller if you want. It just takes money. Is all.
Yeah,
And time.
You even could buy a red furnace filter if you want, I bet.
Yeah, we do. I do have a couple of those.
Oh,
My
man.
carpet upstairs has a red haze on it.
Oh, from spraying?
Yeah, from
You're
the magnet.
spraying inside?
Yeah, yeah. I got a pretty
I
size.
thought you sprayed your garage. Yeah.
See, what happens is when you spray
Okay.
outside, you're
I'm ready.
a victim to the weather, humidity.
Yeah.
Well, I painted it was raining out, but I'm running the air conditioner, so it's sucking the humidity out of the air, and I still had to run 30% retarded.
That's why you bought a whole gallon of it.
Right.
Oh, man.
I get
Steve,
a-
you gonna go?
I'm not ready. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
ready to go? Steve, too, you want to grab my handle?
No,
See what
it's
it is.
estimated.
Yeah, I'm Steve Zero. Steve O.
The original Steve Smith.
Yeah.
That's what he called himself.
Clouding up. I think it's supposed to rain at some point this afternoon. I think we're good until 1 o'clock, what I remember.
And I think I'm done. So I can say I just about know what I got to do to get that straightened out.
Good.
It flies well enough that I can take a dip.
So next Saturday at the Fun Fly, we're going to have the
I'll bring the Magnum.
bring the Magnum then, start working, getting it ready.
It didn't turn out super good, but it'll be better than anybody else's. It's 62 ounces. It ain't 68 ounces.
Yeah. Is it a foam wing?
And that's, what do you think of the weight of that?
I have no idea. 60, 59?
It's in the 50s. Tell your wife thank you for the pilot.
Oh, okay. I don't know if it was exactly what you were expecting, but
Not quite, but still, I'll put her in something. I'm not going to put her in my next airplane.
yeah, you want something more realistic.
There's some debate.
I'll get Tommy.
There you go.
That guy's good. But it's very nice. It's just,
It's a cartoon guy.
yeah, it's a cartoon guy. It's not what I want. It's not the kind of airplane I'm going to build. Oh well. I guess I'm done. I don't know.
This one is a copy of the
That guy took your car.
Yeah. I wish I had that car. If I'd steal the door off of it and replace my driver's side door.
Oh, what's wrong with it?
The paint peeled off.
Oh,
So we got wood, we got plans, we got wings, we got motor mount.
we're on the way. Just need a spot.
Yeah, you need a spot. Well, I wanted to get all this painting done before we come over.
Yeah.
Because that bench where I'm going to have you work is all, there's
Red.
paint cans everywhere. I got all the paint cans up there.
Oh, okay.
It's like a crisp.
Uh-huh.
I figure we'll start about end of September.
Okay.
Going into the winter, October, November. It ain't gonna be ready this year.
Oh, no, I didn't think so. I was going to look at weather.
What is this? This is August now, right?
Yeah, it's August. Yeah, wind's going to, well, wind doesn't get too bad.
It's squirrely though.
Got a 50% chance of rain starting at 1. So that hasn't changed.
What time is it?
10:46. Yeah, 10:45. If this site agrees.
Like I say, I got everything I need to know today. Flying this without fixing it, just kind of running thread water.
Well, it depends on which weather service you look at. Aviation weather says 50% chance starting at 1. But Weather Channel not showing any rain
Yeah. Which one do you
until
believe?
5.
The Weather Channel or Aviation?
Yeah.
I think I'll trust Aviation. The lightest stuff I got.
Right. So I think I got an answer for you on the prop rotation.
Okay.
It depends.
I figured.
I was on the the meetup on Friday. I posed that question to Howard and Bob Hunt. Howard pretty much said it depends.
Here's the deal. Run counterclockwise and be happy.
Because you get more choices than nothing else, right?
Right, you got more choices of props. I'm thinking of switching.
That only works in one maneuver.
Which maneuver?
Hourglass. Top of the hourglass.
Top of the hourglass.
Wouldn't it work against you and all the other
It
maneuvers?
absolutely
That's
does.
kind of what I think.
And the airplane's always doing that. It's looking for a spot to park. Don't you see that?
I don't see that on this one. Looks pretty straightforward to me on the level side. Unless I'm doing something weird.
Yeah, let's see a light on the line.
Yeah.
Does it?
A little bit, yeah. I had to run the RPM up to feel, to get a good angle.
Now, could you make the case that if you're left-handed and you want to go the other way around,
Yeah, try to do that.
Yeah.
because it's not allowed?
No,
Oh,
you
yeah.
do it.
Yeah. Old
I mean,
Chocobone did that.
that would be the only reason you would say that the reverse prop would maybe be something like
George always flew that way too.
Did he?
That was the correct way to fly back then. But they found it. It's
Counterclockwise?
yeah. Jacobone always got downgraded because he flew the opposite direction.
I think I judged him once.
Weird, you expect it to go this way, but it actually goes the other way.
these ball links.
heavy. This one's gonna turn out nice.
Just get mildly concerned when it gets dark like that, you know, with lightning.
Do you have any weird wind?
Huh?
Do you have any weird wind?
Not really.
I did.
I mean, if it's doing like it's been doing all morning, it's either coming through the pass there, or somewhere out of here. It's supposed to be primarily southerly today. But we were getting a whole lot this morning northeast. As long as it comes through the pass, it's not bad. But if it gets around where it's due north and goes through these freaking trees, that's where it's goofy. I mean, if it's 5 miles an hour, it's almost not worth flying, you know? That's why I usually walk halfway out to the grass to give that, you know, some more of a chance to die down a little bit. Take one step forward, Sparky. At least he's going to put his line back on.
You never saw how to, when you added that bigger stinger to that carbon muffler, did that get you what you wanted? I didn't see where that ended up. I just watched you do it.
Hold on to this. I'm gonna tighten that up. Put your hand over it. There you go. Yeah, of course I don't have a long one here. Long balls there. Come on in there. I'll bring my Magnum out. Is that next weekend?
What are the letters that contests you're talking about stand for? F something, FSC?
Fellowship of Christian Modelers.
Oh, okay, FCS.
FCM. Alan Goff runs that.
And where is it?
Muncie, where the Nats is. The home field of FCM. It's a jubilee. Everything's free. You get a free shirt, free hat, free drawing, free dinner, free entry. Let's see what everybody says here. Greg Meyer says, hi, Dan McAtee. You know who that is? Dan? Greg Meyer says, hi, Dan McAtee.
Oh, really?
I don't know who that
Greg's son of Jerry Meyer, Jerry who? That's his son.
We got to look in here. Look at this nice pop box.
People ask me, why do you have so many props? And then I answer them back, why don't you?
You get it.
And if you want something that's on the bottom of that stack, you just pull that out. And then
Oh, yeah.
throw whatever here. There's a yardstick down there with some wires glued in underneath it, and then that's glued in or riveted to the base, and then I can put it back. This is just brake line that you get from the hardware store or from the auto parts store, and then I solder a washer to the bottom of it to hold the props. And the case is something I found on Craigslist, or
I got one.
people got all sorts of old suitcases and stuff like that, and I'm always on the hunt for stuff like that.
These are all 5s in this, or?
Goes up to 13-inch.
Oh, you got 6s in there too.
All the way down to 9-inch.
Yeah.
By 1-inch increments and stuff. And so there's some mixed up and stuff in there now.
I got lots of props. I mean, boxes of props.
I like to keep stuff in bags or props so that when it comes time to go flying, I don't have to look for stuff. I know I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 things like that loaded up, and it's got everything I need. And I'll go through this and I'll take some out and put some back.
I probably got 100 rev ups.
I never found them to work like everybody says they did. Not especially on the Atlas. You know, it has a nice light 60 size airplane. They didn't pull anywhere near as good as what that does.
That's a 5 and that's a 6.
Well, I mean, I try to. Well, that's a 6. But you check it on a pitch gauge and it's a 5.
Right.
Broadack come closer. Broadack somewhere about halfway in between there.
And your kid doesn't like those Brodak BYOs. I saw him ripping on
But
those.
see, but that's not a true BYNO. This is their blade shape. BYNO would have been more of a paddle shape.
They have a BYNO, but it's not that prop.
Yeah.
That's a Brodak prop.
When I ordered that, that's what they sent. That got me closest until we started getting Vest 13.6s in at the hobby shop.
These Zors work real good. I'm running a 15.4 on my.
They're reasonably priced. They come out of the bag balanced, and
They're $8 or whatever.
I just do this to them. Charlie Reeves turned me on to that. Some of them I got to catch up on. He always put aluminum welding rod in there, but I found that if you just put 1/8 inch wooden dowel
All right.
in there, it does the same thing. It keeps it from crushing. And even if it's wooden dowel, you put it on there and you get everything snug, and you go put the wrench to it. It's like you'll just hit a spot where everything compresses to that, and you don't have to worry about them coming loose again. I had Jim Lee make me a fixture that's 1/4 inch center hole, you know, shaft and stuff in that, and the 4 holes, and I'll just line it up. I usually use that pattern, and I'll drill the first hole, and I'll drop a cotter pin in there that just fits, and I got everything all set up on a drill press, and then I'll drill the other 3, and then while I got the drill bit set up, I got a bolt with the head ground smooth, and I'll put that in the chuck, and I've cut up a bunch of wooden dowels that are already the approximate thickness, and then I use the drill press to press the pins in. Little things you learn along the way. I got a bunch of 13.7s from Brodak out of their stock when they had them.
They still got those.
But that's as close to a 13.6 as you'll find it anything anywhere. Most rev ups I found are a pitch under what indicated, with the exception of those 12.5 drone props that everybody keep turning up every once in a while. They don't got any markings on them. Those are usually 5 right on.
I got a bag of them.
What I like them for is you can make stuff out of them too, if nothing else, you know.
They work good on the OS 32. Cut them down to 11 inch.
I haven't tried cutting any of them down on the 32 yet, but that's what I've been. You know, this is a copy of the Thunder Tiger 10.5 by the 11. I cut it down to 10.5, but that Thunder Tiger 11 by 4.5 that everybody likes, I just made a wood copy of it, but using that prop as a blank. Then to prop down to the same thickness, you know, I wanted to try. This is what I've been running on that 35S on that snowboard, and make shape, you know, pen plate out of the shape, cut it to proper length with mark it up with one of Jim Lee's little tools.
I can't believe you can't make a 13.6 work. It's the only prop that works on a Super Tiger.
That I've never got them to pull like Vestas and Zors do. They just, I mean, you really got to spin the shit out of them to get them to pull the same. And at least they have on in the ones that I've tried it on. The one that I got, the engine that I got in the Atlas is a Tom Lay, a TNL 60.
Yeah,
And
that explains it. They're detuned.
I ran it the most in at 72-ounce Cardinal that Greg Myers bought from me, and because he wanted to have a mule to be able to mess around with 60s on and get used to them and stuff. And I couldn't do the whole pattern with that. It was a 72-ounce Cardinal, and I don't know how the heck the guy that built it, Ken Nash, that used to live down here in Nashville or in Joplin, he had a 12 something on it, and I flew the airplane just the way I got it. I usually do that. If I get somebody else's airplane, I try to fly it just like they had it, and I couldn't do the pattern with it. I don't know how he ever flew it. And then I just started playing with props. And me and John Garrett at that time was the only one that I knew that had the most experience with 60s out here. And he had one of Jimmy Cassell's Columbias and some SV11s and stuff, and that he ran 60s in. And it's when a Tiger starts up, that one, that's when you know the engine's happy with props loading it, because the engine just wasn't starting like that until we put the broadac on it. It would kind of get close to that, and then I could fly the pattern, and I flew 2 patterns just to set fuel load, RPM, lap time, and everything. Then I put that vest prop on there, same fuel load. I had to richen it up to take the RPM down about 200 or 300 RPM from what it was. But on the same fuel load, I ran out of fuel just right after the overhead 8s. It was loading the engine down enough that it was using more fuel. And it made that special Tiger sound when it started up. And John's eyes got big, and I went, oh, you know, and the airplane was such that you had to turn it inverted to be able to choke it and start it. You had to start the thing inverted all the time.
Well, I got to tell you, since getting these Brian Gardner liners, they make the other liners look like crap. And you know, a stock Super Tiger runs super good.
I got an engine built up with one of them in it, and just haven't had a chance to put it in anything.
Oh man, it's nice. They're nice.
I had a hard time finding a core. I didn't want to use a good engine. I didn't want to have to take a Tom. Most of the N60s I got are Tom Lay, and I didn't want to have to take one of them apart just to be able to put that liner in there. So I did some swapping and trading with what's his name down in Florida. Races a lot of speed and racing and stuff like that. Whitney. Bob Whitney, he had one that he sent me, and I, was able to build that up and got it to where it's all together, just waiting to get dropped. I'll drop that in the Atlas somewhere along the way. That's the only airplane I got right now that will take the 60.
Break it in real good. But they go, man, they're nice.
The ones that I've put together, I've built up some LA 46s and stuff and that out of Brian's stuff, and I built 3 for me and 3 for Sean. Like that one time when we built them out of parts, I rounded up loose parts between that RC Japan place. We got cases, and then I had a bunch of the crankshafts are the same. We mixed and matched parts, and then break them in just as according to what his instructions and stuff in that are, and they take a little while to run in one time. After I had the 46 in a 60-ounce Legacy 40 and was flying it on a stock 46 before then and could do the pattern. 60 ounces is right at the limit for that LA 46, I think, as far as weight, and depending on what the size of the airplane is. But then I swapped it out after I had the other one broken in, and it just didn't like that the 12 1/4 by 3 3/4 APC that everybody was running on stuff, and it wasn't running bad. It just acted like it didn't like the prop, and winter set in, and I just started running the Thunder Tiger 11 or 11.5 inch prop and stuff in that on it and getting by, and then winter came and went, and we got into the COVID downtime when everybody was here. Me and Mark were flying a lot of different places.
The pandemic hit.
The pandemic hit.
The
pandemic. And we couldn't get it parked. Booter was closed, so we were flying at the Mills parking lot. And
what do you mean Booter was closed? They closed this place because
they closed this place. Yeah, County closed it during the pandemic.
Doesn't make much sense, does it?
No.
Hello, we're out in the open here.
I had a brand, the engine that I had in it before, and still had the Gardner engine in it, and I was going to start from scratch, because I couldn't remember where I was at, how many flights, and yada, yada, yada. So I went ahead and fired it up and put in one flight to get needle and everything in that for the day, and then swap the APC prop over to it, and I loved it. The only thing I could figure, it just needed some more time. Some of them, Brian does a pretty doggone good job of making sure that they'll fit just about any engine. He usually asks for a sample, several samples, and he'll measure a bunch of different engines. And when he goes to finishes that OD of the liner, he's kind of got like an average of everything that he measures. And I've never had one of his that hasn't gone together like a hot knife through butter. You know, never had to do anything strange or special.
Oh, we had the Mexican machine my 60 cases.
Yeah.
Sand them.
Well, on a Tiger, the stock liners are supposed to be an interference fit. You have to heat them up to put the, like when if you do anything to the liner or the case, you'll probably never get that engine to run right again. A lot of guys ruined Tiger 60s that way back in the day because they thought they were going to do something or another, and they managed to get the liner out, but then had trouble getting it back in. And Tom Lay told me that. He says, yeah, that's supposed to be an interference fit because that's part of what the heat transfer to cool the engine. You know, if that liner isn't making good contact with the aluminum of the case, and when you stop and think about a light case 60, there's not a lot there. If you're not making good contact with it, it's not going to cool the engine right. I never made that mistake, but I'll believe it. You know, Tom had more than a few.
The problem with Tom Lay's engines, they're detuned. They don't run. They're not as strong as a stock motor.
I watched one of his engines fly McMillan's Golden Falcon that weighed plus 80 ounces.
I know, the chicken flew.
Oh man. And the ones that I've run with them, I never had any problems with them. I always thought that they had more to give if I wanted it, but they were plenty enough for everything I've ever flown. The Brian Gardner just makes gold. That if you can't get an engine to work or run with some of his stuff in it, you've done something wrong.
I got a 46 liner. I got 3 Super Tiger 46s. 2 that are brand new and 1 George Aldrich. I'm not monkeying with the George Aldrich.
I got the same problem. I'm trying to find a good cadaver to build up. I've got a Brian Gardner 46 set, but I haven't found an engine that's got a wasted piston and liner and stuff in it. And somebody even gave me one. Gave me a set. Well, here, use this one, and sent me one. And shit, it's like brand new. I'm not gonna pull the guts out of that.
Find somebody
I'm the king. If it ain't broke, I ain't gonna fix it.
I also have a PA75 piston and liner because when Randy had them in stock, he said, you better get them now because they're not gonna get them again. But I'm not changing it until it's dead. You know.
I don't know. I know people will send engines to Randy for rebuild, but some guys do it just because. But have you ever known anybody to wear out a piston and a liner on a 65 or a 75?
I wore out a piston and liner monkeying with Ron. He was, open it up, shorten the pipe. You know, we just run the piss out of the thing, and I killed the motor following Ron's. That was when I had my Thunderbolts. More power. So we'd shorten the pipe and drill out the Venturi.
See, that's part of the reason why Sean's hasn't been flying. Gary gave him his last Thunderbolt, and that's what Randy sold him. Sean went ahead and sent the engine to Randy just because it had been sitting so long, and just told him to go through it, clean it up.
Well, that's a 75 in that one.
Yeah, it was a 75, but that's what Randy told him. He said, well, you could tell by, I guess, the way the piston was marked up and stuff. Pipe was too short, and he asked Sean what was the length, and Sean sent him the dimensions, and he said, yeah, and Sean hasn't figured out what to do because he don't want to cut into the back of the airplane to put a longer pipe. And I said, get with Keith Crossell, who's up in his neck of the woods now, and look at Keith's MB5 that he just built with a PA75 in it and a rear muffler, like you got. And I said, just take the pipe off and put a rear exhaust muffler on it. I said, you ought to be able to make that look real nice and stuff. But he doesn't have anybody to fly control line with there in Colorado Springs. He's been mostly flying free flight. He's hooked up with the Magnificent Mountain Men out there. That's the best free flight club in the country. And he's just like he was when he was a little kid. He'll throw and chase hand launch gliders all day. And just always been like that ever since he was a kid. But once he's around this kind of stuff, then those juices get flowing, and he can pick up a handle and put an expert-worthy, flight anywhere that you want to go. But for what he has to get to do in everyday life, it doesn't fit in with his lifestyle right now.
Tell him to put some lines on one of them drones that he used to fly.
He racked up somewhere between 3,500 and 4,000 hours flying them. He's one of the highest rated drone pilots in the country. He ain't looked back too much on those days since he's been out. He hasn't told me. Something happened on the last 2 deployments, and he just really hasn't told me, but he did, you know, if you may, I thought he might look at getting into ATC, some other job in aviation, and not even slightest bit interested in this counseling and therapy thing and stuff like that. So he's more interested in, and that's cool. I don't think I'll ever have to worry about him moving back home with me. He's going to make a fine enough living at that once he gets done with his school.
I thought I remember somewhere that Dean's Club is only really good to about 45 minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if we were in the 40s, which is closer than I ever like to home. So, I mean, we could, if only they made a tool we could measure it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we both got it, we just gotta get it set up.
Oh, that's right.
I actually have one at home in the old one that is made to use Dean's Club. You could just connect it and check that it needs a battery too. You know, the version that we bought is the version 2 with that meter. I have the version 1.
Oh, okay.
And it's one of the reasons I wanted to get a new one is because the version 1, if you imagine, there's got to be something that goes in line between the battery and the motor, or the battery and the speed controller to see the current. And it has to have the connections to do it. And this one was made exclusively for Dean's. Because that's what it was. There weren't, you had Tamaya plugs, you didn't want to mess with those, or Dean's plugs. There were some obscure Astro Fly and some other things.
I'll get the Atlas down here yet sometime this year, I think. But, I'm just still not, what I'm going to say, 100% comfortable.
I will go with you to Tulsa, but I must warn you, that's a windy place.
Is it?
Oh yeah, I lost my jet there.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember you told me that.
What's a windy place?
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, hell yeah. That's where the wind comes screaming down the plane. That's why they wrote a song about it.
That's why Joe Gilbert can fly in the wind.
I was going to
He
say, I
lived there.
heard that's what makes him real good.
That's one of the reasons
windy
why
place.
I've always wanted to go to their contest.
It's a nice contest. They got a great field.
But
Bob Reeves,
the 6-hour drive,
he's dead.
It was always, I had a little discussion with D. Hill about that, he thought our contest was overlapping theirs several years back. And I said, no, you guys have had your contest at the first weekend in October. Because I just have that in mind that September was always busy, and everything got really busy with Brickhouse's contest in the middle of August. Then there was somebody else that we could go to that we did hit. We used to go down to southern Indiana for Sellersburg, and then Labor Day weekend started September off. If you could go somewhere every weekend in September, there was the Chicago guys had a contest over Labor Day weekend. Then there was
I used
Weekend
to like to go
after
to
our
Fort Benjamin
contest.
Harris. Remember that?
yeah,
That was
that
nice.
nasty parking lot there, boy.
I liked it though. I mean, that was a AAA. They had speed, carrier, and had everything.
Then there was the Peoria contest. Was the weekend after that.
Bill Zimmer's contest.
Then there was our contest.
Were you at the contest where it was Peoria, but it got moved to the airport where that Fred Thompson came in and he left his jet running over on the tarmac, and the whole contest you could hear because they didn't have a start APU to start it. They just left it running out there in front of the airport. You don't remember
That
that?
must have been after they moved it up to, I'm going to say Quad Cities area. Because in Peoria, when I used to go to Peoria concerts, it was always on an old golf green right there by the river.
They moved it from that place. That's where Bill Zimmer lived.
Uh-huh.
They moved it
Up north. Because most of the club members were up from Quad City. That's where Floyd Layton
The
lived.
Quad City, yes. They
Never did go up there.
They had a steerman fly-in one year too. Had about 40 steermen fly-in while we were up the contest.
But by the time you get through September and you've been flying all summer, you're just kind of burned out. And the idea of a 6 to 8 hour drive to Tulsa, it was really easy to talk yourself out of going, Plus, I knew back then, well, go to Tulsa, it's going to be breezy down there. It's going to be windy. Somewhere along the line.
It's extremely windy.
Yeah.
Not breezy, extremely windy.
But then everybody started going to 2-day contests when everybody started piling on events with profile and classic and old time and all of that jazz. Everybody started having 2-day contests. And then that screwed up everybody's counting weekends. Like me and Bob didn't get to go to Brickhouse's contest one time because it interfered with Bob's family. Bob Arada's family was always really big on birthdays.
Does he remember you?
No. Last time I went and visited him, no.
He was here. I go, hey, I know. Hey, Bob, how you doing? He looked me right in the face. Do I know you? Oh, yeah. Is he still flying? He said, no, but I'm going to start again.
He's gone downhill a little bit.
Last time I saw him.
They've got him in a nursing home south, it's actually far away south of 55 and 270, that little intersection right there. And I guess it was right before my surgery. I went down and visited him.
Then I saw he was at he was at your meeting, the pre-flight meeting.
How am I feeling, man?
Chris Mixino?
No, he was in the control line club.
I think I see it on. I can
Oh.
see it on.
Oh,
Gus.
Ron Carr.
Yeah, Ron Carr. Gus
Look
Cloverdale.
at the ground, right?
Yeah, Ron Carr.
Ron's still pretty sharp. His mind's still pretty sharp. I saw him.
I felt the drop.
Yeah, it's Virga.
It's what?
Virga. That's rain that's supposed to evaporate before it hits the ground. And that's just some of the ones that didn't get the memo.
You'll be fine.
Jump off.
You'll be fine.
But D. Hill, well, first it was Ken Nash, and then D. Hill got all over my case one time. Why did you guys move your contest? I said, we didn't move our contest.
Always been in it.
Always in it, same thing. And Ken Nash had to make the decision to come here or to go there. He's right in the middle.
You know what he's thinking about, maybe? Maybe? Is if when Brickhouse used to hold his contest here, remember we used to host his contest.
But that was always the same weekend. That's kind of the reason why we did that. We kept his dedicated date. But like I said, when everybody went to 2-day contests, okay, what counts a weekend? If you're just counting Sundays, that's fine. When you start including the Saturday into that, then sometimes that can change when that full weekend is. Like I said, me and Bob Arado were going to go, then his wife reminded him he didn't get kitchen clearance. Bob always used to have to make sure he had kitchen clearance to go to a contest. And he says, I don't understand that. Alan's contest has never gotten in the way of that before. So, but the calendar moves, The first of the month moves. If the first of the month is a Sunday or a Monday, that kind of sets things one way. But if the first of the month is a Friday or a Saturday, then that moves all the weekends up a week. And that's what happened. I finally sat there, looked at a calendar. Alan's contest was always on a day with 2 digits. But for some reason, that year,
And it was
after a
always a
leap
month.
year or something like that,
Month ending in
and it
Y,
was
too,
way
right?
earlier, and it was like the 9th and the 10th or something like that. And so because of that, there was a couple of years that me and Bob didn't go down for it. One other thing and another. And Alan sent me a really nasty email one time about, well, I always come up and support your guys' contest, and why aren't you guys at my contest? And blah, 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 because he was basically looking for judges and stuff. And I just didn't answer it at first. I felt like something. I said, well, you know, Bob or Alan, we had your contest here for 5 or 6 years straight, where we all worked your contest just so that you could keep your traditional date. And it seems to me you've forgotten that. You know, you probably wouldn't have your contest now if our club wasn't willing to do the work to help you put that on. He always acknowledged us every year whenever we had his contest here. But I just couldn't believe what I was reading, that he was actually genuinely pissed that me and Rada didn't show up for his contest. And
Well, we could get that contest going again. I call down to Charlie if we'd work it.
well, you know Kim Stricker, he lives down in Cape, and he's just a sport flyer, fun flyer. I've known him for years through one goofy thing or another. And I'm looking for my sunglass cleaner, my glass cleaner. He had just stopped by there on a trip back from someplace else, coming up 64, and he knew where their field was and knows some of the guys from the Paducah Club. So he likes to stop, get his camera and video up, and he's got a drone with a, camera and stuff and that on it, and he has some overhead shots and stuff in it, and you can still see the circles, and they look pretty good. So I asked him, this was on a Facebook post. So I asked him, I said, hey, does it look like they use the control line circles? And he said, no. I said, looks like nobody, they cut them, they're there, you can see them, they're there to use, but, it doesn't look like they've been used in a while. And
I think you got a pinhole.
I don't know that there's, since Charlie Reeves basically retired and doesn't do it active in anything anymore, I don't think anybody uses it. Because he was basically aging out. Jim Lynch, I think Jim Lynch knew that last contest that his time was limited. And Charlie, from what I can understand, you really couldn't tell from looking at him, but he was in immense pain that weekend. His back was what really finally did him in and stuff like that, and all the standing and walking. I always used to tease him. I said he was always in that little video snippet on the Pampa website where he's launching somebody's model, and he gets up so easy off the ground from a kneeling position, and I said, "Oh, your knees," Charlie is always was in really good shape and everything, but Charlie's got to be pushing 90, Now Larry Scorinzi's passed away.
Yeah.
Larry was.
I was going to make a smart-ass remark on that post, but I decided against it. I was going to say, hope he took some Monopoly money with him to bribe St. Peter.
I really only ever met him at VSC. And McMillan talked me into going to VSC because he says, think of the guys you're going to meet. And I don't know how Larry earned his living, but I'm going to say he made a pretty decent living. He pulls up in this nice brand new Cadillac. It was like early 90s. It's a nice early 90s Cadillac. Then he gets out, and it was supposedly some kind of a running joke, but he gets this box out and throws a dollar bill with a rock, held it down with a rock and some change, and had the sign, donations, help send a kid to the National. Something like that. Puts that on the fender and tapes it down. And they said, if you happen to go to a fast food restaurant as in there, he don't leave unless he's got a big, thick handful of paper towels and stuff like that. That he's, everywhere he goes, he likes to take a little something with him if it's going to come in handy, out at the flying field. He was really a kind of a quiet, soft-spoken guy, but he was just a character. There really isn't anybody else like him.
Quirky, he was quirky.
And that first year, it was still a 2-day contest, and I put it in my post on Stunt Hangar that it was a 2-day contest still, and everybody got through Saturday and Sunday, and they'd already handed out the awards and everything, and wind had come up, dust was blowing around, so everybody wanted to get the hell back to the place to eat lunch or go back to the hotel. So everybody threw stuff in their car, and me and Mark were one of the last ones to leave, except for Larry. I didn't see anybody else around. He might have had a stooge, but he had one of his fast combat models, and the wind had to have been blowing 20, 25 mile an hour. And Larry's out there, and nobody doesn't slow around. Everybody else is worn out, tired, burnt, blown. You know, Larry's out there, however old he was back then. You know.
I just heard this somewhere. Where I heard that. Did you
You know,
post
I've been
it
reading
today?
Larry's stuff. You know, since I was a kid and first discovered model airplane magazines, the discussion comes around about prolific designers and stuff, and everybody thinks of Jack Seek, but Larry Scarinzi probably had a boatload of models published too.
How old is Henry Nelson?
Is who?
How old is Henry Nelson?
I bet you he's the far side of 70. At least.
Because
I
he's out
really
there
don't
doing
know.
that fast combat bullshit all the time.
I really never met him, and he started coming to a speed contest here to fly the Fox Speed. The Fox Speed model that he had 2 airplanes, and the Fox 35s that he had in those were Fox 35s that he worked up for Hazel. Hazel Sig. He told me this. He says, yeah, I don't know what I did to him. He said, but I worked these up for Hazel, where they had some sort of powder puff combat at the NAT sometime in the 70s or 80s. And Hazel wanted to make sure she had an edge, so she made a phone call to Henry. I need a couple engines. And I forget who all flew in that. But I thought, hell, you know, he must be a pretty organized son of a gun. One, that he knew that that's what they were that far down the line, and he knew where they were at when he went to get them out and put them in the airplane. And the airplane he had was just an old, looked like a B-team racer of some flavor, more modern, not a vintage one or anything, but inverted mounted engine, and the tank and the wing and stuff in that came off the top. But I didn't really know who it was until I saw his name, and then I said, Henry Nelson's here, and then they pointed him out.
Did he manufacture his own parts, or did he just design them?
He makes that engine right there.
I've had Nelson quick.
He made Nelson engines. That's why they call him a Nelson.
Was casting his cases
Yeah.
himself.
Remington casted the case, but he made the mold. I mean, Randy Smith told me one time, well, we can't get anybody to cast cases. I said, there's probably 10 places here in St. Louis that can do that investment casting. I asked Henry, I said, can I borrow the molds? He said, sure, what for? I said, I want to make some cases so we can get some engines. I said, well, you don't have to do that. Well, how much is it going to take? He said, 30 grand. That's why we come up with a PA, the last round of PA 75. I said, so it's all about money? He said, yep. And you can't blame him. He's not going to fire up his $1 million equipment for $500.
Who's going to buy them? Right,
30 grand for him is a very small order. I mean, because he's making real airplane shit and aerospace this and whatever.
You read some of these guys on the Facebook control line sites. Well, I'm getting back into control line. Who makes 35 size engines and stuff in that? And one guy answered, I said, there isn't anybody made a 35 size engine in this country in 40 years. You know?
Well, you know, these spinners here, we were getting them for 50 from Randy. I can get those spinners. I know who has the Henry's tooling. I talked to him at the Nats. He's still making the Quickie 40s. I said, can we get them spinners? He said, yeah, how many do you want? I said, I don't know, 4 or 5. So they're $70 a piece. Okay.
But the more of them he makes, the price comes down.
No, they're going to be $70 a piece.
But then he makes a run of them, and who's going to buy them?
Right.
The market's going away.
Right. Nobody wants. The reason why we don't have anything is because you control line guys are cheap.
Well, we're cheap and we're frugal. But think of the choices you've got now in power plants. Electric has taken a bite out of it. When you stop and think about it that everybody that's got an electric setup, if that wasn't there, then they'd be buying spinners and engines and stuff like that. But nobody wants that spinner to put on an electric vector.
I don't know why.
Well, I mean, it'll work, but everybody thinks they got to have something lighter and they got to have something that lets cooling air in.
Yeah, they
That's why everybody started making them funky looking spinners for that.
put a lightweight spinner on it and a 6-pound battery. Right, Steve?
Right.
Well, now everybody's concerned about having everything on the output shaft of the motor as light as can be to make the response time for the controller as fast as possible. And I can understand that, but it's a whole different ball of wax, you know?
The bottom line is lighter is better on everything.
But no matter what area of it you get into, fewer of it's out there. So if somebody comes up with something, who's going to buy it? You don't see OS marketed in this country now like you did even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. Remember they came out with their 35 AX?
I wish I would have bought that Enya
They just
60.
aren't really big into airplane stuff. That's the car.
I think Randy was hoping the 35. Is it the AX? Am I thinking of that right?
The latest stuff is AX.
That was going to be
Before
the
that
next
was FX.
Aero Tiger engine that he was going to be able to take those and then turn them into Aero Tigers. And he was selling a set-up one. I forget what they cost, but hell, you couldn't even find them on eBay for less than $155 new. And your average control liner ain't going to pay $155 for a 35 size engine.
Engines cost more than that.
I got a hold of one from
$200 is
Shutterman.
what you pay for a cheap engine for most everything else.
Well, I don't know what he thinks, but I've got 3 OS32F engines. That motor puts out as much power as a Super Tiger 60.
I've got about 8 32.
You have to spin it quite a bit faster though, probably.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, you do, right?
Yeah, but you just prop it different.
Sure.
The
11.4 maybe?
I use 11.4, yeah. So, you know, you think of 32, how can it spin 11-inch
Yeah.
prop? But nothing. It's like nothing.
The SX, have you ever messed with the SX version?
No.
Those are
32F's
a
what I've
little
got on
stronger.
my primary forces.
Right.
I got a hold of one of those OS 35 AXs is what I think they are. And oddly enough, Venturi and everything for the 32 swapped right over it. So it was easy to set it up, and I ran it on a bench. Started nice and easy and everything, but it's probably got twice the power of the 32. I could not tame that engine down to get a reasonable run and have a predictable fuel load and stuff in that on it. I mean, I put a good solid effort in it and finally pulled it off. And it bolted right on. I think the motor mounts did everything.
Do you remember my Sorcerer?
Your who?
I had an airplane called the Sorcerer.
Yeah.
It was red wings with a blue fuselage. Down on that circle, down there, I had the 32F, but I didn't have a Venturi for it yet. I had a less nearing pipe on it running on pressure. I said, well, it'll be fine. I'll just take off. I richened it up and let it go down there on the grass circle, and it was 4-stroke along pretty good, and then it came on the pipe. And I don't mean like this, you know, like a pipe. It came on the pipe like one of them down there, and it started screaming. It was about 150 mile an hour.
You're talking about the F side exhaust?
Yeah.
So, did you have an OS header for it?
I have side to rear, yeah. I got another, I got that exact same setup I'm getting ready to build.
'Cause I think I got a header that'll fit either the 32 or
Sure you do.
FP40.
it's an OS part. Still got the header card and everything.
Right.
It'll fit the
Probably have
32
3 of them.
or the 35, 40 FPs.
Right. That's what I used, was one of them little headers. I got one on there and a less nearing pipe. And that thing, when it came on the pipe, it sounded just like one of them. Thought, oh God. Hang on.
And then there's ring versions of the 32 because that's basically a helicopter engine.
Right.
And but I've never ran across a ringed version engine to buy it and try it. And then they discontinued that and then came out with the 32 SX. And it's shaped a little different, but I think it's largely the same engine. Bolts, you know, muffler lugs, mounting lugs, and everything's the exact same. I put one of those on one of my P forces, and it pretty much behaved in exactly the same. I run. The only time I ever really liked a Zinger prop was that engine liked the 11.4 Zinger prop.
How many airplanes you got?
I'm not sure.
I got 15 full-size stunt planes.
I got so many hanging in the garage. I got everything I got ain't all mine. I've got remember I don't remember Bob DePue from way back. There was a guy that lived near me, built mainly profile stuff. I bought some of his models after he passed away. I got some of Rich Raftery's models. I got some of my models. I bought a couple of models from Walt Manel.
You remember Mike Florsinger?
Yeah, he actually stopped by here. I mean, within the last year or two, and I didn't recognize him.
You know he's 70 years old?
No. He was older than I ever thought. He was the first one I ever saw fly a 38 Special. And back then I was really hooked into blue blocker sunglasses. And I never knew that airplane was pink because blue blocker sunglasses turned it orange. And it was years went by before one day was a day like this where I didn't need sunglasses and took it out. I said, "What'd you do, build a new airplane?" He says, "No, that's the same one." Him and his brother used to come out they used to get out here like
His
dark
son
30.
came out too.
Huh?
His son came out too, Sean
Yeah.
Florsinger.
I didn't recognize him. He had to introduce himself. Sometimes it really hits me just how many laps we've put down in here over the years and how much flying we've done down here and how much water has really gone under the bridge.
Well, I knew Gary when he was 50, when he had Norton Auto up there. He was 50 years old, and I guess he died at 80, what?
Yeah, I knew him because he worked on a car for me while he still owned Norton. Me and him used to go to contests together a lot.
I did with him too.
And
Him and I went to Huntersville, and I drove there nonstop. He said, "You want me to drive?" I said, "No, I'm okay." You don't want to ride with him.
we were trying to start the club out of the hobby shop out in St. Charles, trying to get another club going, and Gary came out and joined that. And that was right about the time his son got murdered. And that's when I first got to know Gary. And
That's too bad he didn't get that case closed before he passed away.
well, I don't know what. Remember Sean Fagan? Fagan was on Major Case Squad. He's chief of police of Rolla now. I hear from him every now and then.
Really?
And he retired from Florissant. Didn't get elected chief there. He moved his way up to major there, and then retired from there, and then went to work for Rolla. But Fagan did some looking into it, and I don't know if he ever told Gary this or not. But Fagan said it was a hit. I don't remember if he said why, and he thinks the guy that did it, his dad was murdered in prison. Got killed in prison. Somebody else got pissed off at him for something else. I really don't remember all the details. But that was when there was a lot of nefarious behind the stuff going on in professional drag racing.
Right.
And Gary was really coming along.
Yeah, I know the name, but I won't say it on camera.
Was really coming along and making a name for himself with his chassis. It was high-tech race cars.
Right.
And at the time I got to know Gary, we were doing that club, I was watching some drag racing and stuff and that on TV. That was how I knew that was Gary's son. Was whatever I was watching at drag racing that day, yeah, this is so-and-so, it's a top fuel dragster, it's a high-tech race car chassis, and the commentators, talked about it. Well, it's a shame, young Gary Hayek, was tragically murdered and stuff like it. He was just beginning to make a name for himself, just producing really high-tech, high-class race chassis out of a little garage down
The
here.
suspect came out of High Ridge.
Huh?
Does that ring a bell? High Ridge.
Oh, High Ridge?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's almost out to where Gary lives, out in that neck of the woods.
Yeah.
And then I started putting two and two together. And but Fagan said he was shot in the face. He was still laying in a creeper. He was underneath the car. Whoever it was came in the building, and he came out from underneath the car and was shot in the face with a black powder weapon. Can't trace that. There's no rifling. There's no.
Oh, was that the point?
Yeah. And then most guys would do, that's one of the things that tells you it's a professional hit. And they probably tossed the gun in a river. and stuff like that.
Probably where all the cars are.
The
By Chain of Rocks Bridge.
but I don't know if you ever told Gary that or not. But I think Gary might have figured out and found stuff out on his own as time went by. But that was Jefferson County Sheriff's Department screwed up that whole investigation. They should have called Major Case Squad immediately, but they were too, nose in the air. They know we can handle this. We're policemen too and stuff like that. But too much time went past before the trail went cold, like they say in the movies, and they just screwed up the investigation.
You guys get him? I gotta go and meet my dad.
I'm going to get at least one more flight. I don't know
Well,
how many batteries.
I'm out of here. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you from Stunt Hangar.
Fair winds and tight lines.
You betcha. See ya.
All right, I'll catch you guys later.